Flutterschmooze by Opium for the Masses. Read by Deathlight. Confidential. Hasbro International Investigation Report regarding incident. Date of incident 9/25/10. Time of incident 12 o'clock p.m. Location of incident Beverly Center Mall, 8500 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California 948. Meet the My Little Pony Characters event. Persons involved: Catherine Winson, missing. Donna Nixon, Hasbro, H/R Legal. Summary of incident. On Saturday, September 25th, 2010, at the Beverly Center in Los Angeles, California, Hasbro Marketing had prepared for a meet and greet of the My Little Pony characters in promotion for the October 10th of 2010 premiere. 6 actors and actresses were hired to be in costume for the event. See attached list. The meet and greet was supposed to last from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the afternoon, followed by another event the next day. After the event, all future events had been cancelled. 5 of the 6 main characters exited the dressing room and proceeded to the stage, except for Fluttershy, who was played by Catherine Wilson. She was the last to exit the dressing room. Problems arose from the start that included an unusual aroma and the assault of several guests. 911 was called somewhat after the actresses were escorted from the stage. She was hospitalized shortly after. See Daryl Castle's attached witness report. Witness description incident. On Saturday, September 25th, 2010, I, Daryl Castle, was tasked with escorting the characters out of their dressing room and onto the stage at the Beverly Center Mall. Miss Catherine Winston, actress hired to play Fluttershy, was the last to arrive on stage. Already, it was apparent that something was wrong. Miss Winston appeared to be intoxicated. She was walking in an abnormal way and unable to travel in a straight line. When asked if she was okay, she merely nodded and proceeded forward. I also noted that her costume was filthy. Dark stains were all over the Fluttershy costume, with her eyes blacked out. There was a strange smell emanating from inside it. At first it smelled like bile, and when her legs collapsed in under her, they seemed squishy. Once again, I asked Miss Winston if she was able to continue. Once again, she nodded, insisting that she'd be able to perform her duties. I let her go on stage and called wardrobe for the spare Fluttershy costume we had in storage for emergencies to be brought out for her to change after the first set. When they entered the stage, set up for the meet and greet, all the characters went to their present locations except for Miss Winston, Fluttershy, who continued to act in a strange way. She refused to stay in her area and kept moving around into the other characters' locations. More notably was how she interacted with the kids. Most of the children in attendance wanted nothing to do with the Fluttershy character. They constantly shied away from Miss Wilson when she approached them. Some of the younger ones began to cry hysterically when she got close to them. None of the other characters had this problem, as there were reasonably long lines for the other 5. When a few of the children got up the nerve and actually approached Fluttershy and posed for a picture, Miss Wilson started to act even stranger. She would grab them and hold them in a pulsive manner. She would then begin to act as if she was going to devour the said children, opening the costume's mouth wide enough for her to promptly swallow said child, at which point the child would begin to cry and I would have to drag the child away from her back to their parents. At this time, I need to point out that the smell from the Fluttershy costume had gotten even stronger and more noticeable. It now wasn't so much bile as it was the smell of rotting meat. It was quite strong, with guests visibly retching whenever they got close enough. At one instant, Fluttershy, Wilson, was clearly upset when a little girl refused to get close to her. As she avoided Fluttershy and walked back to her parents, Fluttershy proceeded to follow her out of the stage and into the floor, still with that strange walk, and visibly tried to force the girl back onto the stage. It was apparent that the girl was frightened by Miss Wilson's actions. It was then I approached the actress. I placed my hand on her shoulder in an attempt to direct her back onto the stage. When I did so, I noticed the costume was squishy. It was as if there was nothing solid within the costume. Whatever it was that Miss Wilson put into the Fluttershy costume, it leaked through the fabric onto my hand as I continued to direct her onto the stage. It was black, cold, and smudged on contact. At this point, I radioed security and had them escort the other actors to the dressing room and to call 911 and a hazmat team to deal with a potentially dangerous substance that was leaking from the costume. The longer I stayed with Fluttershy/Winston, I felt uneasy. It was as if a visceral, pure rage began to emanate from the costume. She was beginning to terrify me. Even so, I stayed with her, keeping her separate from the other actors until the last one of them entered the dressing room. When the last actor entered the dressing room, I asked one of the security guards, Roger Helston, to keep an eye on Miss Winston while I checked on the other actors. Upon entering the dressing room, I noticed two of the Beverly Center Mall maintenance workers trying to enter the door to the mop room. Initially, I paid them no mind and asked the actors if they noticed anything bizarre about Miss Winston before they changed into their costumes. They said that Miss Winston was already in costume when they entered. It was at this point the mall manager entered the dressing room and unlocked the mop room. When he did, the door opened and he screamed, "Jesus!" in alarm which caught my attention. I ran to the mop room and inside was Miss Winston, naked and bleeding from her right hand. 4 of her fingernails missing from scratching her hands against the wall. In her own blood, she had written as follows, "Too many Fluttershies, they won't let me breathe. There are too many Fluttershies, they won't let me think. The Fluttershies hate me. The Fluttershies hate me. The Fluttershies are laughing at me." After the words became incomprehensible to read, see attached photos. It was when we all heard screaming from the hallway. It was Hilston. His screams followed by the screams of several actors, who had ran to the door to see what was going on and was now in full retreat from the doorway. I quickly made my way into the hall, where I gagged at both what I saw and the smell. Lying in the hallway was the lower half of Halston. It was almost as if his upper torso had been melted away. Next to him lay the stained and discarded Fluttershy costume. The putrid smell of rotten death quickly enveloped the hall, and I ordered an evacuation. Once we were outside, we met the paramedics, who treated me for minor burns on my hand, where the black goo touched it. Miss Wilson, who was babbling incoherently, was taken to the hospital for treatment and observation. Count of main reports. We agree with Miss Castle's initial assumption that Miss Catherine Wilson was taking some illegal drug and was intoxicated. We believe it was some type of airborne psychedelic drug that ultimately affected her the most severely, and everyone else in the mall to a much lesser degree, causing hallucinations. We believe that Miss Wilson had arrived early and released said drug. By this time, the others arrived on scene, and the toxin had permeated the air within the mall. Due to Miss Wilson's longer exposure to it, her reaction was much more severe. How she wound up in the closet is questionable. We had assumed that perhaps the others had simply not noticed her locking herself in it, and were beginning to suffer the effects of the drug. This would explain the lack of the previously mentioned body of the security guard, Roger Helston, and the lack of any black fluid on the scene. The suit, which did smell awful, was incinerated at the close of the initial investigation. Who was committed at Brothton Memorial Hospital Psychedelic Wing disappeared 2 weeks ago after the fact. Federal and local authorities have been informed, and she appears on the no-fly list as we speak. We do not expect to hear from her again, however. We had told the security to keep their eyes open for her. Addendum. It is unknown at this time who is responsible for inflating all those yellow balloons with the pink butterflies and rabbit designs in the room of Miss Wilson. Nor is it clear who left the Fluttershy doll with its eyes blackened in her room as well. We will have to conduct an initial investigation into whoever might be responsible for committing such acts, and the fact that one of them showing up in a mental hospital is clearly in violation of our marketing product policies. When found, the employee or employees should be terminated immediately to prevent further violations.